Component number 2, deletion of the Waianae Coast study. The original objective of this study was to identify, analyze, compare all feasible methods to improve access to and from the Waianae Coast, especially during and following major weather events which in the past have resulted in closure of the Farrington Highway. Following approval of the OWP last June, HDOT informed us that the project was, they didn't feel the best use of limited state funding. We appreciate that local dollars are a precious commodity, and so without that local match, of course, the project can't go forward. We can't spend a single federal dollar without a local match to it. So this would just formally delete the project from the OWP.
So I've been a resident of Waianae for 40 years. The Waianae Coast Transportation Security Study was ranked originally, and I wasn't at the last meeting, 9 out of 17 projects. It came in when we did a full study of all the neighborhood boards, of all the things came in. And that tells me that there's 8 other projects that should go before that, because that came from all, it was ranked, okay? These rankings were a culmination of all neighborhood boards represented by the CAC plus other organizations that sits in there. This tells me that the people, not the Department of Transportation, tells what they thought was right. And this is the whole island, not just Waianae. Okay, the former vice director of the state of Hawaii, I've said this many times every time I've come, he's always said, and this is Ed Texera, he always said, it's not if the big one's going to come, but it's a matter of when it's going to get here. And the worry about it's going to come from the Aleutian Islands. And if you see the model, and I've got the model if anybody wants to see what it looks like when it comes, the new inundation zones, everybody's going to be busy everywhere else on this island just surviving, let alone trying to help us out there. Why is money put over people's lives? It doesn't seem to be anywhere else with entitlements the way they are nowadays. It's strange that the Hurricane Fund can be tapped for any other reasons, many other projects that don't even pertain to disasters. Shouldn't the lives of the Waianae residents rank higher than over the $9 million that's put aside by city and county to subsidize golf courses, so retired people can afford to golf? I just heard that money is a precious commodity. I think people should be a precious commodity. Shouldn't the lives of the Waianae be ranked higher than the beautification of trees planted along Nimitz Highway for the participants at APEC to see maybe twice the whole time they were here, and most of them didn't even take that route? You can't tell me, well, I guess maybe you can, I can't say it this way. It shouldn't be about money, because they seem to find money to do other projects that need to be done, whether it's transportation or otherwise. And I could go on for an hour at least. So I appeal to you for the Waianae Coast. I understand there's been other studies. I have never seen any of them. If they're not feasible, why did they even have this in the work project to be voted on? Okay? There's only one. My daughter has slept overnight in Hanakai Holly in her car because she couldn't get home because of this, before she was even old enough to, she's married now, but so many times. I've seen 2 hurricanes out there. I've lived in Manakuli, and so I just appeal to you folks that what's right is right. And if the way that I've seen things going since I've been involved for the last 6-7 years in the community and government to see how things are run, there's no reason why we can't get this thing done. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Members, any questions? Councilmember Burr.
If this study doesn't come through, where would you, as the constituency that lives along that coastline, bring your input with your communication with your neighbors, that if you, on the private sector, on the private end, that you came up with solutions that you could advance? If this study doesn't come forward, what would be the receptacle? Where would you, as a citizen, feel that you could give your input outside of the study? Do you know of one?
No. I know what I'm going to do for my family because I've been involved with things. We've been giving presentations out there with the civil defense on what people need to do. And because of that, I know even more what can't be done out there. But I know what I'm going to do with my family, and I'm going to take care of them. But there's too many people out there that don't know what's going to be doing, and there's going to be people running all over each other out there trying to get out of there, and they're not going to be able to. You're going to have chaos.
So this currently, as with all your years on the coast, this is the only package, so to speak, that's out there that would provide for input.
Well, that's what I see now. I just found out because I was across the hall over there that there's been 3 other studies that I didn't know about. That's before my time. And it only went as far as Lulule. And I know because I'm retired federal transportation. I work Kolikoli Pass. We used to have to clean it up every time it rained. So even if it was fixable, it still wouldn't be passable.
I lived in Waianae for 50 years. I was 25 years old when I moved there. One way in, one way out. When there was a tsunami alert, they would advise us to go up to Navy Mag. They would open the back road, and we'd stay there for hours. No toilet facilities. But luckily, we always pack gallons of water and canned goods to stay up there until the all clear signs came on. But till today, what do we have? When I moved there, was under 20,000 people. Today, we have almost 50,000 people. Now you can see all of them rushing up. That is why I bought a property above Princess Kahanu. I can watch the tidal wave come in. I opened my gate to let my neighbors come in from down below and around who had no place to go. Because the ones that was near the schools, Nanakuli would go up to the school. Waianae would go up to the Waianae area. But where would the other people go? Where would they go? There's no place to go. And who's responsible? I've been a voter for 55 years of my life, trying to get something done. We need and we must have that bypass road. If we don't get it, the next one we have, we may not be as lucky. Yeah? And this is a form of teaching children now, when they're young, how to care for each other, how to help each other. If we don't help each other, who's going to help us? We cannot always depend on God, because He feeds us the energy to tell us what to do. And it's up to us to get it out to everybody.
I think what triggered me to come is when I hear about 10 million going to golf courses, but then anything regarding access in Waianae, it's kind of put in a back burner and kind of delayed, and it's almost like on the bottom of the list. I live in Honolulu now, but I lived in Makaha for about 11 years. I literally moved to Honolulu because on the west side, and obviously everybody knows, you might as well be in the moon. One main break, one police incident, or one rainy season, and you are stuck. And though I'm in Honolulu, I still have a lot of friends and family on the west side. And I think it's important even people in Honolulu kind of support them, because for some reason, I don't know why, it's like Waianae is always the last on everybody's list. And it just hurts me. And I just came to testify and make a comment regarding that.
Members, this is just for information only. Back in 1992, when OMPO was tasked to do a Pearl Harbor underwater tunnel study, at the time we didn't have the boring technique, and the military has now, 10 years later, said we can. We can bore through muck. We can actually build an underwater tunnel that 10 years ago we didn't have the technology to do. That's what this study does, members. This study takes advancements in aggregate, in highway technology, in boring techniques, whether it's through a mountain, under a road, under a canal. We have to get creative and look at the fact that we're looking at predominantly traditional means of road building. This study will allow for all different aspects, tying with the cultural features that are of importance to go around them so there's no disturbance. That's what the study will do. It'll give a concrete answer to once and for all since 1967, as Representative Waianae said, does not duplicate, does not regurgitate, but rather looks at the new advancements in highway technology, boring techniques that have come about, and we should deploy them and entertain them so we can have a grasp at the feasibility and the end cost of what it would be facing for well over 50,000 residents. And I'd appreciate it, members, if you would please consider passing the amendment made and moving this forward for the $1 million to provide such a study. Mahalo.
Raise your hand, yes, you want to retain the study in the OMPO list, the work plan. Clear? Okay, all those in favor, can you raise your hand? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, all those opposed? 1, 2, okay. So the amendment passes. So we will.